today on Dr. Phil. The Texas police chief, married with 6 girlfriends on the side.
I lied to my wife, I lied to my kids, to my family, and of course I lied to these women.
The woman who exposed his affairs speaks out.
I feel overwhelmed, embarrassed, angry, sad. It's still hard for me to reconcile who he was to me and who he actually was. Every single thing out of his mouth was a lie. He made a really big deal that he'd been divorced since 2016.
The deception.
That is a bald-faced lie to multiple women at the same time.
And the accusations continue.
I own what I did. I messed up.
There are people saying you haven't learned your lesson, that you're back on dating sites already. Is that true?
Now, Dr. Phil's exclusive interview continues.
Today, part 2 of our exclusive interview with the married Texas police chief who has been accused by several women of leading a triple life. Jason Collier says he was a well-known and well-respected figure in his small community until a social media post from one of his girlfriends went viral, exposing his multiple affairs and a web of lies. Here's what happened yesterday.
Texas police chief is having a bad week. Hours after his cheating scandal went viral, Stinnett police chief Jason Collier was arrested Thursday for tampering with a government document.
A woman who says she was Collier's fiance is now warning a small Texas town their now former chief is living a double life.
Take me through that moment that you sat down and said, I'm married, but I'm going to create an online dating profile.
I was looking for friendship. I wasn't looking for that sexual relationship as far as a hookup.
Were you afraid that somebody you knew would see this and go, hell, I know him. That's the chief. He's married with kids. You were married to Opal. On the side, you had Heather, Christy, Brianna, Christy, Katie, and Cecily. They didn't know you were married.
No.
You didn't tell them, I'm married and cheating on my wife.
No.
This wasn't a tryst where you said, hey, let's just go be bad. Where did Opal think you were when you were with these women?
You know, I misled her, lied to her as well, that I was working undercover.
You had surgery. You had a gastric sleeve.
Yes, sir.
And you lost how much weight?
180 pounds.
People start reacting to you differently?
They did.
Well, you got 6 working at one time, and you got a new body, you're excited about it. It's like somebody gets a new car and wants to give everybody in the neighborhood a ride.
Cecily Steinmetz posted these pictures of the two on Facebook Tuesday. The Amarillo woman claims she was engaged to Collier before she learned he was married.
Somebody told Cecily they knew you were married?
Yes, I convinced Opal to contact her.
You got your wife on the phone to talk to your mistress to convince her that you weren't married.
I lied to her and convinced her that it was part of the undercover thing that I was doing. Opal believed me.
You're chief of police. How has that affected your community? Jason Collier resigned as the chief of police and has now also been charged with falsifying a document claiming his marriage to his wife Opal was annulled. Today, he's responding directly to the women who say he professed his love to them and said he wanted to marry them, but really was scamming them. You're chief of police. You're supposed to be the guy that is the paragon of trust. And you're weaving this web of deceit and lies. How has that affected your community?
Oh, it hurt them because I went in there and I worked with integrity and ethics and everything. As far as my job, I did it ethically. And then for them to see this side that's come out, it hurt the community. And I apologize to everybody in the community for what I did to them. Maybe not, not directly, but losing that public trust that I had built with them. So,
you were fired from your job?
I resigned, yes, sir.
In lieu of being fired?
I was honorably discharged from the agency.
Were they going to fire you?
Not to my knowledge, no, sir.
So you believe if you hadn't resigned, you'd still be chief of police?
I knew because of what I had done, I had violated that public trust, and I knew that it was probably in the best interest of the agency and the community that I resign.
Did you do any of this on job time?
You know, every once in a while I would talk to, when I was on a break or something, you know, I would talk to them or send them a message or something like that.
Did you drive your car to Amarillo?
The one time that I went to Amarillo, you know, it was going to be job related, and at lunchtime that's when I'd gone to Cecily's.
This is a ring video of one of the many times she says he would visit her while still on the clock. Not only that, but she says he had met her family, had their picture up in his office, and even went as far as asking her to pick out an engagement ring.
Was the ride-along in violation, or is that acceptable?
No, sir, it was acceptable. It was we had policy in place that civilian ride-alongs were allowed.
I don't think they contemplate that being your mistress.
No.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a public service.
Again, that's where I say I violated that public trust with them.
Well, you went from being chief of police with a wife to 6 girlfriends to being single and having no girlfriends, no wife to go home to. What's your biggest regret?
The whole thing. I was doing a good job, and I violated everything, you know, with Opal, with my kids. I broke trust bonds with all of them, and now I've hurt them, and I regret it all. If I could go back and change it, I would change every bit of it.
Have they talked to you about the embarrassment that they felt from the headlines? Because your kids have had to read these. Her children have had to read these. She has had to read these. You've had to read these.
I hate the embarrassment that I brought upon my kids, my family, again, the community.
Well, the headlines go on, and that's embarrassing. And then this social media post that went up from Cecily. Chief Jason Collier is living a double, triple life. I was his girlfriend until yesterday. He lied to me and presented me with fake annulment documents when I found out he was married. I also found out about a second girlfriend, Christy, last night. He has lied to us, our children, and asked us both to marry him. He is a poor representative of your town. He would also visit me in Amarillo when he was on shift. We just returned from vacation in Taos on Sunday. Meanwhile, his other girlfriend was told he was on work assignment in Portland, Oregon.
That was the main one that she posted that outed me when...
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
You had gone on vacation to Taos. Where did your family think you were?
Again, that
was the undercover?
Yes, sir.
And you told Christy with a K that you were on assignment in Portland?
Yes, sir.
And she says you asked her to marry you.
No, I never asked either one of them to marry me.
But you talked about what the wedding would look like.
We talked about what weddings would look like and everything. Yes, sir.
But you do agree that you misled them about that?
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Because I looked at some of the text between you and Cecily, and you guys weren't together all that long, but if you look at the text between you guys, these are from dailymail.com. Oh, baby, you're my everything. You say, are you serious about loving me more? I'm scared. And then she says, I want to fall asleep safe in your arms, then wake up next to you forever. I'm ready whenever you are. You tell me. You say, do I move to Amarillo? Will you? I'd move in a heartbeat, anywhere with you. Mm-hmm. That doesn't leave a lot to the imagination.
No, sir. And this was a conversation that we had a few days before the Taos trip.
This is January 20th.
Yes, sir.
You met on the 16th.
The 17th was the first time that we met in person.
So 3 days?
Yeah.
Afterward, I'd move in a heartbeat anywhere with you? 3 days?
Yeah. And
I got to bring a wife and 4 kids with me, but I'll go anywhere with you.
That was definitely part of misleading there. There was no way I would have ever done that, knowing each other for 3 days. That was part of trying to continue with that, building a relationship with her at that time.
Here are the women that have come forward, so Cecily, she was the first to come forward and claim she was engaged to you, and we just read how she could conclude that. Then Christy's the second woman to come forward and claim she was engaged to you. Then Katie claims she dated you. Then Angie claims she got engaged to Jason while he was married to his first wife. Mm-hmm. Is that true?
We never got engaged. When my first wife and I had separated there for a while,
right.
Angie and I did start talking and kind of seeing each other, but there was never any proposals. There was never any exchanging of rings.
Well, Heather claims that she met Jason through a dating app, dated November to December of 20, which predated Cecily.
Yeah.
Because Cecily didn't come until January, so Heather was before that.
Yes,
right?
Heather,
as was Angie. All right, then Brianna claims that she texted and sent pictures back and forth with you. That's one that you didn't meet in the real world, right?
Right.
All right, then Christy claims that Jason bought her an engagement ring.
Yeah, we never even met.
You never met?
Never met her in person. And at that time when her and I were talking, there was a joke that I could just have things shipped to her and she could just pick them up since she works for the shipping company.
Was one of those shipments an engagement ring?
Well, jokingly we talked about a ring, dress, everything like that, just in joking because we had, at that time, what we thought was a good connection.
Yeah. Do you have a problem with boundaries?
Coming up, the woman who exposed his affairs speaks out.
He told me that he had been taught by the handwriting analysis person who analyzed the John Benet Ramsey ransom note. Every single thing out of his mouth was a lie.
We now return to Dr. Phil's exclusive interview with the Texas police chief leading a secret triple life.
It is so cold, babe. Hope you're having a good day. Thinking about you. So I'll talk to you a little bit. Bye.
According to Cecily, Jason not only lied about being married, but he lied about who he was and what he did. In an exclusive interview given to DailyMail.com, Cecily says he spun a web of deceit from day one.
I met him through Facebook dating. He made a really big deal that he'd been divorced since 2016 and he was finally ready to get out and have a relationship. He just disarms you. He's very soft-spoken, just very kind and just very calm.
I can chat with you, so anyway, I'll torture you with a sunglass pigtail. So
everything felt really good on the phone. He seemed very polite, respectful, and I thought with his job that he would definitely be trustworthy, not just a police officer, but a chief, and I thought they definitely are held to a higher standard, so I thought I should be able to believe him. We met here in Amarillo for dinner. It went great. He told me that he had been in Lubbock for a meeting with the Secret Service because he told me he had a side job being dispatched to national emergencies like the Nashville bombing, the Portland and Minneapolis riots, and he had me completely convinced of that. Said that he had that meeting with the Secret Service on that Saturday all day. Stayed the night in Lubbock. Sunday was going to help his disabled brother for the day. He said he was going to school to get his master's degree. Towards the end of dinner, when he had the receipt, he asked me to actually sign my name with my maiden name and my current name, which I kept my married name when I got divorced in 2017. Because he said he wanted to look at the handwriting. He told me that he also was trained by the FBI to do handwriting analysis. But he could tell that the way I signed my current name, that I was completely detached from that name and that relationship by the way it was slanted. I didn't really understand that. And he said that with my maiden name, that I was obviously much more connected to that name, the way that one was slanted. And he said that made him happy because his big concern was that I would go back to my ex-husband. He told me that he had been taught by the handwriting analysis person who analyzed the John Benet Ramsey ransom note. I feel overwhelmed, embarrassed, humiliated, angry, sad. It's still hard for me to reconcile who he was to me and who he actually was. It was just every single thing out of his mouth was a lie.
Do you have a problem with boundaries? Managing relationships and boundaries?
I believe so, yes, sir.
I mean, if somebody shows you attention, because you describe yourself kind of like you pet a dog, it'll follow you anywhere.
Yeah.
Like if somebody scuffs your ears up, it's like, hell, I'll follow you anywhere. And these women that gave you acceptance, paid attention to you, it's like even 3, 4 at a time, you tell them what they want to hear because you want their acceptance and attention.
I think I have that dependency where I feel like I need that attention. I don't know if it's exactly to say I'm worthy or anything like that, but that I need that. I guess I have kind of like a codependency of needing somebody like that.
And let me ask you, is there a qualitative difference here? And I just want to be clear, because you've got a couple of these women say that you proposed to them, and you say, I didn't propose to them, but I clearly misled them and discussed wedding plans with them. You recognize there's no qualitative difference there.
Right, yeah.
That's just semantics.
Yeah, I mean, because...
You clearly misled them.
Oh, yes, definitely.
You clearly led them to believe there was a union in the future. Whether you call it proposal or not, you were discussing wedding plans with these women.
To a certain degree, yes, sir, we did. We discussed it. Like I said, we never went through, I guess, what you would call a formal process of purchasing an engagement ring. I understand what you're saying.
Are you making that point because you think it makes it better?
Oh,
I mean, you either misled them or you didn't.
Oh,
Did you mislead them?
Absolutely misled them.
You did mislead them. And that's my point, whether you got down on one knee or not, you misrepresented yourself to these women as to who you were availability-wise, that you weren't married. You lied to them straight up. You lied to them by saying, hey, let's talk about what the wedding would look like, and I'd go anywhere with you in a heartbeat. That is clearly misrepresenting who you are and what your future plans are. That is a bald-faced lie to multiple women at the same time, and you're not equivocating about that, right? That is what you did.
I lied to them, yes, sir.
Well, the reason I'm being very pointed about that is I have certain things I believe, laws of life. And life law number 4 is you can't change what you don't acknowledge. And if you're trying to kind of spin this or duck or weave it, you're not really owning it. And when you go to these women and you lie about being married and you get your wife on the phone to tell one of them that you are single, that is absolute bald-faced lying. And when you say, well, but I didn't really say, there ain't no but. I really said. That is, you absolutely misrepresented that. You conned her, you lied to your wife, you cheated to your wife, you lied to her and cheated to her. You lied to both ends of it. And the town fool can see this is going to hit a wall.
Yeah, I did.
And you put it up on the internet.
I did. I lied to my wife. I lied to my kids, to my family, and of course, I lied to these women. Yes, sir, I did.
Have you apologized to your wife?
When all this came out, yes, I apologized to her in person.
What'd you say to her?
I apologized to her and told her that I was sorry for what I had done and that I had lied to her, I misled her, and used her to make that phone call.
Okay. You apologized to Opal and said, I used you, I cheated on you, I used you.
We had talked and we were going to seek the counseling.
And at that point, you guys were going to try to figure a way to work through this. And then since that time, she said no more.
Right.
She said, I don't want to try to work on this, I want out, I want a divorce. And you're not living under the same roof?
No, sir.
Where are you living now?
With family back home.
Okay, with family, okay. Do you still want to be with any of these women?
Coming up.
There are people on social media right now that are saying you haven't learned your lesson, that you're back on dating sites already. Is that true?
We now return to Dr. Phil's exclusive interview with the Texas police chief leading a secret triple life.
Do you still want to be with any of these women?
No, sir.
Any of these 6?
No, sir.
Why not? I mean, you were ready to go off with Cecily anywhere, anytime.
Yeah.
If she would have you, you don't want her?
No, I don't.
You don't want any of them?
No, sir. I lied to them, and no.
Do you have anything to say to any of them?
If they would accept it, I would apologize to them, and I'm sorry for lying to them, misleading them, and a few of them I did meet their kids, and I'm sorry to the kids as well that I became part of their life basically, and they looked up to me as well.
There are people on social media right now that are saying you haven't learned your lesson, that you're back on dating sites already. Is that true?
I did create a profile, yes sir, and like you said earlier, I went from having everything to having nothing. And again, that was part of my brain at that time, thinking I got to have some sort of attention and have that person to be able to talk to.
So how did you describe yourself on the dating profile?
Pretty much the same way. That I was just looking for friendship.
You're married?
We're in the process of the divorce, yes sir.
What it says is looking for friendship, work on my family ranch, 2 kids, going through a divorce. At least you're honest about going through a divorce. And women are passing this around, warning each other about you. I find it pretty shocking that you're already reaching for another relationship. If you know much about me, if you've followed me at all, you know I'm a very outspoken advocate for law enforcement. And I don't know how anyone can be in law enforcement and see the things that law enforcement people see over and over again, whether it's murder and mayhem or domestic violence or abandoned and abused children or whatever. The incidence of PTSD among that population is absolutely through the roof. I think it's highly underreported. I think it's highly untreated. I know that you have received the Medal of Valor in the state of Texas for courage in the line of duty, putting yourself in harm's way to benefit fellow officers. You've had officers around you shot in the face. You've seen things folks just shouldn't have to see. And I'm not trying to excuse anything that you've done, but I also, in fairness, have to acknowledge the fact that you've been through a lot and you've distinguished yourself along the way, and it's come at a high price, and I think it's taken a toll. Do you consider yourself mentally and emotionally impaired? Did that contribute to what you've done here?
I believe so, because this is not the person that my parents raised me to be. I came from a very good home, loving home, and I know that if both of my parents were alive today, they would be extremely upset with me.
And that's my question, because you came from a good, solid background and family. You have distinguished yourself in law enforcement throughout your career. How did you get from there to making such poor decisions to humiliate yourself and your family with these horrible choices? How did you get from that to this?
I honestly don't understand. I don't know how I got to this point.
I don't think that's true. I think you do know how you got from there to here.
Coming up.
I think personally, you are immature, relationship dependent, and have so many unfinished emotional needs that you would be a complete train wreck. You don't need to be in a relationship with somebody else right now because you will screw it up. Closed captioning provided by...
We now return to Dr. Phil's exclusive interview with the Texas Police Chief leading a secret triple life.
Let me ask you something. Do you have PTSD?
I was told that I do, yes, sir. You know, years of law enforcement and things that have gone through one really tragic event that I seen a psychologist for, and I was diagnosed at that time with PTSD.
A Pampa police officer is in stable condition today at a Lubbock hospital after a disturbance call turns into a shooting. Pampa police were called around 10:30 Tuesday morning to a home on Nelson Street on reports of shots fired. Patrol Sergeant Houston Gass was shot in the face and airlifted to Northwest Texas Hospital.
You've seen some things that have changed you, have you not?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, what has it done to you? How did that affect you?
When the shooting happened, I was married to my first wife, and I was going through so much. That was at the point, I was a few months after my weight loss surgery. It seems like everything just hit all at that one time, and that affected my relationship with her, affected my relationship with my kids.
But you add that on to things that you've seen and dealt with, and just know the dark side of human nature that you have to see and contend with day after day, and then it culminates in this tragic event. It changes who you are. How did it change you?
It just made me hard, hard, and I was hard on my kids. I had a chief that I looked up to so much. He said, everything you see and experience throughout your career, it's like you pull out a desk drawer or a cabinet drawer. You put it all in there and you slam it shut, but eventually it keeps filling up and here it comes popping out. You just got to keep slamming that door shut, and that's an old school cop mentality.
Do you believe that you've now ruined yourself and your life and there's no coming back from this?
I don't think so. I had a lot of people prior to this that looked up to me and looked at me for guidance and everything, and I feel bad for disappointing them. But I own what I did. I messed up. I lied. I misled. But again, I know that that's not the person I was raised to be, and I know that that's not the person that I am. But I honestly think that I can be back to being a good person again.
Would you like some advice?
Coming up.
I cheated, I lied, I manipulated, I was deceitful, I betrayed, I used, abused. I don't have enough fingers to list all the things you did to poison the marriage that you're in right now. Closed captioning provided by...
We now return to Dr. Phil's exclusive interview with the Texas police chief leading a secret triple life.
If we could hit the reset button, and there's power in forgiveness. We're going to restore you to chief of police. It's going to say, bad chapter, but you got a long history. Let's get back to work. Would you predict, thank God, and not screw it up?
No, I would definitely appreciate that, but I would be fearful that it would happen again.
I don't think you'd make it a week. You're on a dating site now. You're not out of this quagmire. You got criminal charges against you right now, and you've got a divorce, and you got 200,000 women in a Facebook group dogging on your ass, and you're posting yourself up on a dating site, and women are passing it around like you've got Ebola, saying, hey, warning, warning, toxic, 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 and you're not through blowing this mess up before you're getting into the next one. That's the worst possible thing you can do. And I'll tell you what I think. Number one, I do not think you are an evil human being. I think you have made really immature choices. I think you have distinguished yourself in law enforcement, and I thank you for your service. And if I had bad guys coming at my house and you were the officer that showed up on the scene, I would have every confidence that you would discharge your responsibility selflessly and professionally. But I think personally, you are relationship dependent and have so many unfinished emotional needs that you would be a complete train wreck in terms of how you handle things going forward. You don't need to be in a relationship right now. The most important relationship in your life is the one you have with yourself, because it's the longest relationship you'll ever have. It's the most intense relationship you'll ever have. And you aren't being honest with Jason. You don't have the ability to put boundaries up. You got caught this time. You were connected to other women before your first marriage was over. And you're involved with a bunch of women here before this marriage is over. And you say, well, okay, now I'm on a dating site again because I'm getting a divorce. But you don't have a divorce. Right. You need to finish one thing before you do another. And you need to do a relationship autopsy on the marriage that you're getting out of before you start another relationship, and ask myself, what did I do to contaminate the relationship I'm in? What did I do to contaminate? Well, I cheated, I lied, I manipulated, I was deceitful, I betrayed, I used, abused. I don't have enough fingers to list all the things you did to poison the marriage that you're in right now. And you will do those things with the next person you meet if you don't take care of those issues right now. You felt emasculated because she made more money than you, and so you needed validation. You were morbidly obese for much of your life, and so you felt looked over and judged and further emasculated, so you lost weight, and you thought, oh, hey, they noticed me now, so I got some catching up to do. I want female validation. And you would just take it from whoever would give it to you without regard for prior commitments and realistic future with these women. This is going to hit a wall. I am chief of police and I've got a dating profile up and I'm married. This woman's posting a picture up and you've got text, I love you, follow you anywhere, and you're married. If anybody thinks they can get away with that, then some village is missing their idiot. Anybody could see that that's doomed. No. But you're like, hey, no problem. No. And when you get caught, you get your wife to lie. You need to recognize my problem recognition skills, me, Jason, my problem recognition skills are not good. My ability to put up boundaries in a relationship are not good. My moral compass is spinning. So I need to ask myself why. Now, I'll answer that.
Coming up.
When I found out that there was an incident where Opal's son hurt Jason's daughter and he didn't leave at that point, I needed to know why.
Was any of what you did vindictiveness because of that?
We now return to Dr. Phil's exclusive interview with the Texas police chief leading a secret triple life.
For more on Jason's story, you can also check out the book Texted Lies, Whispered Truths. The authors, Terry Ann Browning and Lori Mahoney, join us. I'm really fascinated to talk to the two of you because y'all are women and have the women's perspective on this story. What was your reaction as you pieced all the story together, Lori?
I could kind of see where Jason was coming from, but then I could sit back and go, what are these women thinking? 3 days and I love you? I'm watching one of the women, after the second date, profess her undying love. So as a woman, I'm like, wow, does that happen? I don't understand undying love after 2 dates.
What did y'all find the most shocking part of the story from the female perspective?
Starting with the first wife, he was kind of shopping around for a new replacement for her before and that's how he found Opal. Well, now that I feel like everything turned south with Opal, I felt like he was shopping around again, and this was all kind of trial and error to see who was going to be his next replacement.
I think that's part of the relationship dependency. What struck you most about it?
When I found out that there was an incident where Opal's son hurt Jason's daughter and He didn't leave at that point. As a mom, I needed to know why. And I could see that that was where his internal struggle. He loves his wife, he loves his daughter, and he was dependent upon Opal. And to put this hurt that happened to his daughter kind of on the back burner and do an internal battle with Opal over it, because Opal's trying to protect her child, Jason's trying to protect his child, and eventually that bomb blew. And I think that had a lot to do with why Jason started down the road that he started on, because he didn't know how to get out.
Was any of what you did vindictiveness because of that?
I don't know if it was vindictiveness because I was trying to get back at her, and I understand being protective of your kid. And that was, one of the issues also that hurt our marriage.
Did she handle it the way you thought she should?
No.
Why do y'all think you undertook this story? Why this story?
When I saw the viral posts for the first time, the part that stopped me in my tracks was when I saw women reaching out to Jason. Somehow they got his phone number and they were putting that on these groups. Look, I got him to talk to me. He's back on the market. I don't know what pulled me there, but I reached out to him because I felt I wanted to help him. I felt like the punishment didn't meet the crime. Did he deserve to lose his wife? Yes. But did he deserve his world to be blown up because he cheated? I didn't think so.
Were you responding to some of these women not knowing what was going on?
Some of them I did talk to, texting, but yeah, I did. I talked to a few people, and I just thought they were being genuine.
Why did you agree to have the book written?
This was all a huge mistake, and unfortunately I can't go back, but hopefully I can be an example for somebody who's going through this.
Why do y'all think women need to read this book?
I don't think there is a true hero in this book, but I don't think anyone in this book is blameless.
But they are victimized in that they did not know he was married. Now,
absolutely.
Their judgment in speeding along or whatever is one thing, but the misrepresentation on his part of not telling them he was married
Correct.
and all certainly puts them in a bad spot. It is Texted Lies, Whispered Truths, Jason Collier's story, and where can people find it?
Amazon, Barnes & Noble,
Apple.
Kobo, Apple. I am the co-author, but it's under my pen name of Lonnie Doris.
All right, Terry Ann Browning and Lonnie Doris.
Yes.
All right, guys, thank you very much for
Thank you
telling
for
us about it.
everything.
Appreciate it. Closed captioning provided by. First thing I think you need to do is this starts neurologically. I have a very dear friend, Dr. Daniel Amen, and he is the head of the Amen Clinics. There are 9 of them in the United States. And PTSD is not just psychological, it's neurological. You need to start out finding out what's going on in your brain. And so I want to arrange for you to have a neurological workup. And then I think you need some emotional help and emotional counseling, and I will arrange to start that with you as well. We have our own company, Doctor on Demand. I'll set up 10 sessions immediately for you to work with a board-certified, licensed, doctoral level clinical psychologist to start talking with you after we get the brain scan information to know what to do to start digging your way out of this. We can turn this around, Jason.
I totally accept any help that I can get. So you're exactly right. Whether I'm 430 pounds or I reach a weight loss goal, I don't like me. I don't.
I'm looking past your bad choices and looking at the man behind it, okay?
Thank you.
I really want to thank Jason for coming forward today. It's not easy to make mistakes and then own up to them and take accountability. I really hope that Jason gets the help he needs and that the females he victimized have received some sense of closure by seeing him publicly own his wrongdoings and actions. I also want to thank DailyMail.com for use of their exclusive video and photos. You can get a copy of the book Texted Lies, Whispered Truths by Terry Ann Browning and Lonnie Doris, which is Lori's pen name. Be safe. Thanks for watching.